Okay, so I'm going to discuss the dark side of the Illuminati a little bit more. I didn't discuss the light side, so I'll do the dark side now. Got a beautiful view here, so we'll do the light side after I finish up on the dark side. The dark side does a lot of different crazy things, things I'd rather not mention. You can look up what you think what they might do. Some of the stories are true depending on what group, because there's subsections of groups, and like we said, they siphon power off of good and off of the innocent. And so I don't exactly want to say how they do siphon that power and siphon off of the innocent. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, I don't exactly want to say the way that they siphon power off of the innocent and off of the good, but they will take the pure-hearted and kind and generous people, and we'll try to run them into the ground, slowly drain energy out of them. They will harm children. They like voodoo. They will do animal sacrifices and stuff like that. Those are things that can be done by the dark side to gain energy. It's also not long-lived. It's also comes at a cost. By doing that, it's almost like you're gaining. It's a quick fix that ends in things that are not as well. It doesn't end well. We'll put it that way. I think that's the best way to explain it, is that it does not end well for the people that do that sort of thing. One of the things is that simple things like a Ouija board or tarot cards, or let's say you've got like a little altar or something like that for your magic or whatever that you do. Like go throw that away. Go throw it away and see what happens. Wait 60 to 90 days and tell me that your life doesn't have a big old mess that gets dropped in your lap. That's one of the things too, is that if you participate in the dark side, you throw away, if you kind of like renounce the dark side and move to the light side, you can have a big old mess happen in your life. Usually it's just caused by the devil. The devil wants to beat you down and drag you back into whatever you're doing. Like, let's say somebody abstains from an addiction that they have, right? So they quit an addiction. 2 to 3 months, they will go through high stress levels that will make them want to relapse, things like that. And so when the devil loses a grip on you, he really wants to pull you back in. And that's also kind of like the similar mentality of a narcissistic hoovering. Like once they realize they're losing you, they really want to pull you back in. And that's not really fair if they're mistreating you to begin with. Like someone's mistreating you, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm out of here. And they're like, wait a minute. You're supposed to sit there, take the abuse while I sit there and enjoy it. And then what's in it for you, right? Besides being abused, you're gonna be growing gray hair, going bald, getting wrinkly, right? And so you've got these cartoons and these movies about someone comes over and like drains the life out of someone. They turn into like a zombie or like a mummy. They turn mummified in a matter of a few seconds. It's kind of like that over a longer period of time. The energy vampires on the dark side will have a tendency of draining the life out of people. One of the things is that there are people who have an overabundance of energy. There can be a mutual relationship between somebody who's an energy vampire and somebody who has an overabundance of energy, and they can make an agreement where a certain amount can be taken out of someone. Like some people have so much energy they can't sleep. They're uncomfortable, and it's kind of like they have a recharging system that is stronger than their battery bank size, and so they're like almost always overflowing with energy. They have to constantly be beating themselves up or running a marathon just to calm themselves down. And so they have mutual agreements on occasion with people, between somebody who absorbs the energy and another person who has an overabundance, and that's perfectly fine. 99% of the time that's not the case. The person who's having the energy drained out of them is not doing it willingly. So that's something that's a real common thing, because that's an easy form of energy supply. It's always taken from an external source. From as far as the dark side goes, they're looking for external sources because they cannot create it themselves. The light side, it comes from within. That's one of the things, is that they're able to absorb it from the environment. They're able to create it from within. And you look at like Shaolin monks, Buddhist monks and stuff like that, where they sit there and they'll meditate and they'll be able to absorb a whole bunch of energy from either cycling it inside of themselves or absorbing it from the environment around them, like the plants, the trees, the earth. And that's the light side. That is more like along the lines of the righteous light side. They're able to absorb energy. And the people of light, most of the time you'll never be able to recognize who they are. They'll just look like a regular Joe until something allows you to know that they're more than just a regular person. And that's one of the things. It might be like foresight, it might be like, premonitions or whatever you want to call it. It might be, a gift of healing, things like that, and so the creatures of light that roam this planet, they have special gifts, and you wouldn't recognize them as a creature of light until you get to know them better and actually see what they're capable of. Like, some people are capable of physically healing ailments. Some of them are capable of touching someone in the mind in a way to remove what you would call like a mental health problems, complications, mental illness. Some people are able to like I said, they have an overabundance of energy. These are people that can run like double, triple marathons in one day, stuff like that. Those are kind of what you would call almost like supernatural gifts. And those are creatures of light. And like I said before, the seven deadly sins is like kind of like not all people that are that are famous and stuff like that are creatures of darkness. It's just like there's a large portion that you'll find in Hollywood that are. They have a tendency of kind of being on the dark side of the occult, and they admit it too, right? So this is nothing hidden. This is nothing new. Like, you can go look this up for yourself. You'll know. They'll say it. Like Kurt Cobain and other people say that they basically sold their soul to the devil for their fame and their fortune. And you don't have to do that. It's what you would call the easy route. So the trick to do it, if you want to be famous and whatnot, is to just elevate yourself, just to continue to rise. Don't let anyone tell you anything other than you're badass. And if they want to tell you that you're doing stuff wrong, well, that's on them. That's their own deal. Some people just want to try and tell you no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong. And so you just got to ignore the people that are trying to tell you that you're doing things wrong. The wisest decision is to follow the path that you have set before you. Understand what your goals are, what your purposes are, and just push along. So another thing that creatures of light have to do is they can't tell hardly anyone what is happening in their life, to a certain extent, what their goals, their dreams, their purposes are, because if they do that, the enemy can come in and try and thwart it too. They can try, but it doesn't work, because they can come in and try and thwart you. But here's the thing about that. So what they don't tell you about chosen ones is that as far as the creatures of light go, is you never ever want to do them wrong, ever. And I've seen like a regular Joe that was a chosen one you would never expect be treated poorly by someone extremely prominent in society, like a famous person, and then karma hits him. It just flips back around on them real quick, of basically the wrongdoing that they do to a creature of light comes right back on them tenfold. And then they have to deal with the public humiliation, the whole entire thing, the dealing with the scene and everyone talking to you about whatever you did wrong. And that's one of the things, is that you never really want to harm a creature of light, because God comes down pretty hard on just about anyone that does that. I've never seen it fail at this point. And see, I was told by other people that this is what happens, and these are like regular Joes too. They said, people that are chosen by God to be creatures of light, if they're done wrong, then it comes back around on the creatures of darkness that do that. And it's quite an amazing feat to see that, and it's very humbling too. That's one of the things, is that if you're a creature of light and you actually get to experience that, you are humbled. You're like, oh God, you know, like I don't even know how to feel this way about it, you know. So you want to make sure that you know, you as a creature of light, if you've seen that ever happen to somebody that's done you wrong, you want to do your best to not allow people in your life who might treat you wrong if you see them have the potential of doing that, because you don't want to allow someone to put themselves in that position just to face the consequences, because the consequences are pretty rough from what I've seen. And I you know, like a lot of, I would say all creatures of light, they're going to have sympathy, they're going to have empathy, they're going to have compassion, they're going to have the good characteristics that have to do with feeling for other people. So you don't want to allow people into your life who you know might hurt you because of the consequences that happens to them. And you know, it's partially that you don't want it to harm them and it to happen to them, and partially because you don't want to feel the sadness that comes with that either, because you know, it's like it might have been someone you let in your life that you care about, that you think was a beautiful person, and then they turn around and do you wrong, right? And so you don't want to be put in that situation to where you're being constantly treated wrong, or just they do you wrong on a specific occasion or whatever. Because you know, one of the things that the guy had told me, that specifically one guy, he said it might take a day, it might take a week, it might take a month or 6 months or a year, but eventually, you know, whatever's done wrong to a creature of light comes back around on that person. And you know, I've seen it happen in my life, happen to people who try to do me wrong, and it's actually kind of happening right now to some people. I'm not going to say too much more than that. Some of them I won't mention out loud. Some of them have you know, been nothing but good to me. And that's one of the things too, is that the creatures of darkness, they kind of have like a do what thou wilt type of mentality. And so, you know, if you don't harm them or you don't bother them, they usually don't bother you, unless they're an energy vampire or whatever, you know. And so you kind of do your thing, they kind of do their thing, and usually they won't bother you. But if they do find out you're a creature of light, they might be charged with the task to harm you by their superiors, right? And so that's one of the things. There's a hierarchy in the kingdom of darkness too. So if they find out you're a creature of light, they might be put up to the task by their superior to do things to you that they would rather not do. And that's kind of a difficult thing for them to get put into the middle position like that. And that's a whole nother thing too, is that like if you look at the darkness, they have like the evil eye, right? They have the evil eye pendant, the talisman, and like Christianity has a cross to fend off evil, right? But it doesn't have a cross to fend off other Christians. And so that's kind of the thing, that evil eye is meant for defending against other people that use evil eye. And so, you know, it's both metaphorical and it's literal in some areas of the dark side, that cannibalism occurs. You know, they will spiritually cannibalize each other, and then, you know, there's also drinkers of blood and eaters of flesh. That's kind of a biblical term. And so that's on the really, really dark, nasty side of things that I would rather not really discuss. That really doesn't do anything for you, if you ask me. I haven't tried it, of course. Yuck. But in my opinion, I couldn't see that really doing anything good for anybody. You've got like a 50% chance of eating human flesh to end up with like mad cow disease. Like half the people out there can't even digest it correctly. It doesn't even work for them as far as their system goes. So just for anyone who's thinking about tasting a nice steak from somebody's thigh, you got like a 50-50 shot of going nuts. You get the proteins in it, mad cow disease kind of status thing when humans eat human. Yeah, half of people out there, they can't handle it, and they kind of will go nutty from it over a course of a period of time if they continue to eat. So I don't know if one bite or 2 bites would do that to you. I just know that, you know, humans have a similar thing that can occur to them as mad cow happens to cows, and it's like close to a 50-50 shot. So, you know, if you're a creature of darkness and you think it's okay to eat human flesh, I would highly advise against that, just because of the chances alone. Not that it's disgusting as well, but you know, of course, that's the basic fundamental foundation of why you shouldn't do that. We're not meant to eat each other. But I'm just saying, you know, on top of it being morally reprehensible, morally bleh, you got a 50-50 shot of being basically, you know, really messing yourself up. But yeah, you know, the dark side is much more risk. There's much more risk involved of you know, being part of the dark side and working with the dark side and whatnot. Yeah, for sure. You put yourself in a bad situation if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have the balance involved. And so, you know, one of the things about a creature of light, they can go walk through the shadow of the valley of death. They can walk through the valley of darkness and fear no evil, and walk through with grace and with strength, and do it without being harmed. It's another thing to try and walk through God's wrath when you're a creature of darkness. That doesn't work. You cannot escape God's wrath. I will tell you that. That is something that you cannot escape. But you can be righteous. You can pray. You can, you know, fast. There's a lot of things you can do as a Christian. Prayer is essentially meditation, but you know, through the Word. And you know, some people might get mad at me saying that, but that's what it is. Prayer is meditation with the Word. But yeah, you know, the reason that the dark side is so alluring to people is because of how Hollywood has exemplified the easiness it is to gain wealth and riches through succumbing to the dark side, because, you know, it's kind of like a shortcut. You get things easier, but that easiness comes at a severe cost. And you may have to make a deal and pay later for it, right? It's kind of like what do you call that? Layaway, right? Like you're putting stuff on layaway, and you're gonna have to pay the price later, according to when the the owner of the contract says to pay up. So that's a whole nother explanation. But the creatures of light, they don't really have to deal with that, because, like I said, you're worshiping a God that wants goodness in the world. He expects you to be a disciple in His name of what He wants you to do. And so you will get downloads. You will be told what to do, essentially. And then you will go forth and you will complete those tasks according to His will. And that's what it means to be a creature of light. It's not just like, oh, I'm a creature of light, I get to go off and be a holy, righteous person and get to do whatever I want. It doesn't work that way. You have tasks and goals to complete, and He will assign you those goals and those tasks of what you need to do in order to make things go according to His plan. And so for me, I was charged with the task of coming here. This was like the direction that I was supposed to go. In reality, if you look around, every other country around me has flooded. Japan, North Korea, China, except for Philippines. Philippines just lit on fire yesterday. That 200,000 houses, 200,000 people are out. Manila lit on fire. But yeah, Vietnam's flooded. China's flooded. North Korea's flooded. Japan has flooded. And then the Philippines last night just burned. So if you look at where I'm sitting, I'm in what you would call the eye of the storm. And so you can see why I was charged to come here. I kind of have like a higher level of spiritual energy. My mom was a trip when I was a kid. Whenever she'd go on vacation, she said she'd bring the sun with her wherever she went. And I used to joke because I'd bring the storm. But you know, the storm is not here. So, you know, it's an interesting concept, but, you know, I come from an interesting family. But yeah, that's kind of just a little taste of what you would understand about what it means to be a creature of light. You know, my middle name means light too, which is kind of interesting. It actually means light. So, you know, what they say is a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, I think is a biblical term, and that's kind of an interesting thought, to be humble in who you are as a person. And you know, it's kind of fun just being here and seeing the way that the world works and understanding it to such an extent, and being able to sit here happily and understand that I'm grateful for everything that I have, and humbly appreciate and praise God for giving me everything that I have every day. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who's listened this far, and that I hope you appreciate any of the information that I've given you along the way, and I hope it helps you out.